Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and for almost a decade, I have been a transformation coach and therapist. This podcast is all about lifting the veil of consciousness and awakening to the truth. It is also about helping you to raise the bar in all areas of your life and relationships by starting with you. If you're ready to take back your personal power and reclaim your life, you have come to the right place. I'm so glad that you're here, so let's get started with today's episode. I wanted to do a sort of tongue-in-cheek episode all about red flags. I've done another one in this podcast somewhere. Just scroll down, you'll find it. My take on it, it's everywhere, right? It's become a buzz phrase, the red flags. Like, think about back in the day when our grandmothers existed and there was no talk of these red flags, right? But now it's like this trendy thing that is all over TikTok and Instagram and all over. Red flags this, red flags that. I think that there are some positive things around that, around the awareness, for sure, because 20-something me didn't know what the red flags were that 40-something me now knows. Certain specific behaviors and things to watch for that point toward someone could be harmful for you potentially as a partner, right? So when we're in our 20s, we're not aware of those red flags. Typically, we get married, we still don't necessarily see what's going on until things start snowballing and getting worse and worse and worse over years and decades to where we've learned our lessons. And then we're in our 40s or 50s and starting over, and we come with all of this unfortunate baggage around what we've experienced. So we are on the lookout everywhere for these red flags in other people that we are dating or seeing or in a relationship with after experiencing narcissistic abuse and toxic abusive relationships. And I feel like this red flag buzzword, like it can go too far. So it's got me thinking, just sort of in a sort of humor way, like I have red flags for sure. Someone could see certain things in me that would be a red flag, right? And while there is certainly things that we need to be aware of as women that would point towards someone being harmful, abusive, dangerous, all of those things, we don't want to put ourselves in positions where we are getting deeper in with someone who is showing blatant signs of toxic abusive behavior. None of us are perfect. And so when you're navigating a new relationship or dating on the other end, this is for you if this is where you're at, obviously. And I know that a lot of women one of the big reasons they stay where they are in an unhealthy situation is because they're afraid of the future. They're afraid of being alone. They come out afraid of even ever entertaining another relationship ever again. We can come out with a lot of armor built up around us. And these social media memes can make it even more difficult to really pay attention to know what truly is something I need to be paying attention to that could lead to harm for me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and what are just certain behaviors that trigger me or that I don't like, that I can work through on my own and self-soothe because they're not harmful to me. Or if they do feel harmful to me or unhealthy to me, am I able to articulate this to the person in a healthy way and give them an opportunity to adjust to meet those needs or to adjust themselves if they choose to? We cannot change another person. So what I see a lot of women doing is trying to transform the red flags out of their partners, the people they're dating and seeing. I see this all the time. These are the women that are posting up in free Facebook groups their long drawn out stories with the most crazy details happening in their relationships that most people read and their jaw drops. They're like, why are you there? Why are you asking if you should give this more time? You're 8 weeks in and he's cheating and texting other women and ghosting you and confusing you and gaslighting you. And you're like, hey, is this just me or is this fucked up? Right? What we know in our 20s is not necessarily what we know in our 40s. So when we are wiser, older, we've had some experience, yes, we can come out the other end definitely scarred, having trauma imprints, having patterns within us that we need to look at. But there is a big difference between someone having red flags that point toward dangerous abusive behavior and someone that has red flags of maybe just like quirks or things that maybe could become an issue that can be worked on, or real like actual deal breakers when it comes to misaligned visioning, misaligned lifestyles, misaligned dreams for the future, misaligned core values of things that really matter to us. You have one person that is into health and fitness and living healthy, and another that just wants to sit on the couch and drink beer and eat Cheetos and not exercise and not be active and not be outdoors and doing things. That could become a real issue down the road, right? Does that mean that it's a red flag? No, it just means it's misaligned values, misaligned lifestyles that could become an issue. Now, could that person decide to get up and start being more active? Sure, but generally you would be probably pushing that person along the whole time, and it would just feel like a drag on you, and it wouldn't be a point of connection. So for me, I became aware that any future partner that I would have, I would want a value of theirs to be health, getting out, being active, and being mindful of wellness and eating, being, conscious of what we're eating and that sort of thing. Maybe it wouldn't be someone that's as extreme as me, but someone who is open to that and that we should have a shared goal of a healthy lifestyle. If you have too far in the extremes in any of these areas that are important to you, then it can become a real issue down the road. So the way I look at it, if we want to talk about red flags, for me, the red flags would be, are you safe for me? Are you harmful? Are you a bully? Are you nasty? Are you perpetually an asshole? Are you perpetually going to invalidate my feelings? Are you going to listen to me? Like hear me out? Are you going to do the work to come together and find solutions? Are you going to be controlling and suffocate me? Like those are the kind of things that are red flags to me that either warrant a conversation to see how the other person responds to that, or it makes you realize, yeah, this is definitely not the way to go. If someone is confusing me, if someone is acting erratically or inconsistently and they're all over the map and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Are you coming or going? Like, what's going on? That energy does not work for me. So I know that I need someone who's consistent, has some predictability around what they're doing. There's good communication, that there's open communication, that everybody's clear, that making plans is like out in the open, we're communicating, getting clarity on plans. So certain things that are huge for me. Another big one is someone that doesn't expect that I'm going to come along and clean up after them. Someone that stays present and we finish the job together, or that they pick up after themselves, right? They don't just go make something in the kitchen and leave it for me and go off to work. Like those are things for me that would be like, hell no, I am not getting into another trap like that. No way, no how. So the first piece in this is you need to know what your quote unquote red flags are. The things that you could never do again in another relationship. So they're very personal. While there are red flags, of course, of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, coercive control, physical abuse of any kind, or putting you in any danger, or blocking doorways, or putting their hands on you in any way, blocking you from leaving situations, like showing up unannounced everywhere without any awareness of that maybe you have boundaries, like just showing up all the time. In your house, at your house or at your workplace or wherever without any communication. So they're always just kind of dropping in. Those are some big ones. They are. And then you set a boundary and you see, do they listen? Do they say, yeah, okay, I get that. Sorry. I'll make sure to text or call before I pop over next time. Those are ways that we can discern if someone is worth our time moving forward. So that's a little bit of, how do you define and know your own personal red flags? Red flags that point towards someone being dangerous, unhealthy, or harmful are different than red flags that are just quirks, maybe personality traits that could be annoying or could be something that makes you crazy down the road. But they're things that you can live with because all the other things are really good. You're not looking at it like, oh, there's this abusive behavior over here and this crazy making over here and this erraticness and flakiness and no communication over here, but over here it's really good. Like, but there's these times he's really good. No. It's more like it is 95% like really good. We're on the same wavelength. We work well together. We communicate well together. We just jive well. And then we have this little percentage over here that, maybe we get up in each other's nerves a little bit, or there's things we need to work out and talk out and figure out. That's what you're going for. We're not going for perfection, but you do want it to feel overall like you just mesh well with the person. You want to be able to spend a lot of time with that person, a year or two, a lot of time in each other's space, getting away, traveling outside of your comfort zones, with kids around, with no kids around when you're just alone, with life stressors and things going on. There's going to be a need for seeing how someone works with you in all those circumstances and how well you can work with them. Do you work well with them, how they do things? Do they work well with you, how you do things? Are you allowing each person to be who they are? You can't figure that out in 6 months. And so what I see is a huge thing and this is not to say that there aren't some cases where people can move in 3 to 6 months together and it all works out wonderfully. Sure, that could happen. But I think that if you rush too fast into something, you don't know someone. You don't know what it's like to live with someone until you live with them. Or when you actually have like long periods of time where you are living with them or you're in close proximity with them in different scenarios. So a big concern would be fast moving relationships, things that are way too fast, way too committal, way too soon. And making a big commitment, like a financial commitment, sharing a house, things like that before the 2-year mark. That's my personal feeling on it, from lived wisdom and from seeing the pattern that women that end up in these relationships started off with fast moving in really fast, overwhelming, just like way too serious, way too soon, and for it to start to unravel once they've moved in because they didn't really get to see this person in all these different settings. All right, so here we go. I came up with 10 of things that I think would be my red flags. And this is funny in a sense, but I also think why not do your own? Because what we can see in ourselves that then we can sort of change, or we can maybe adapt, or maybe some of it just is our personality. And so some of these are kind of just a little lighthearted and funny, but I know that they have annoyed more than one partner in the past. So, and they're things that are like kind of ingrained in me that I could change, but it would be like, it's difficult for me to change. But when we're talking about like abusive behavior, harmful behavior, that is different. That's where we draw the line to this red flag being like flaming red flags. Like you don't tolerate abusive behavior. So yes, everyone has the capability of behaving in a quote unquote way that might be abusive, right? Everybody could have those moments. But the idea is that it's a pattern of repetitive behavior and cycles that define abuse, right? It's a pattern of programming and it's a cycle. All right, so here are 10 of mine. So one that I'm noticing more recently is that when I feel hurt or something doesn't feel right to me or I'm disappointed, my tendency is to withdraw and sort of step back and want to just go silent. Kind of shut down kind of energy to send kind of a passive message of like, I'm not happy with you. And I have had to learn, well, this is, I'm here 46, to see that that is a signal to me that that's where I need to do some soul searching, do some of my own personal work, journal it out or figure it out, like what is the real issue, And then do I need to bring this to the other person? Or is it something I can sort of resolve within myself in this moment? And kind of just let it go for a bit, give it some air, see if it needs to be brought up later at a later time. Sometimes things need to be brought up right away. Like, I don't recommend sitting on things and letting them build up and build up. But I have also learned that it is okay, if it's not something really urgent, to kind of just let it go until a time comes where it's just really natural to work it into a conversation. Like, hey, actually, yeah, the other day when this happened, or this got changed, or you said this, or this happened, or you didn't do this, this is how it feels, or this is how it felt, or this is how I feel about this situation. And yeah, it did bother me. I didn't bring it up at the time because it wasn't a good time, or I just wanted to kind of feel into it a little more. I didn't bring it up at the time, but really it is an issue. The more we do that, the easier it is to just speak things in the moment. Of course, you do it calmly. Of course, you do it respectfully. You can bring up any topic. You should be able to, especially with your partner, the person you're with, to bring any topic up, but do it in a respectful way. It doesn't have to be done perfectly, but you're doing it in a compassionate, respectful way, right? So that's one that I really discovered within myself, is that tendency to want to pull back if I've been hurt or feel a certain way about something that has happened. Another one is that this one is, I've tried to change this. I've got to figure out a solution to this one because I know how bad it is. I know how ridiculous it is. But I let my car run to the absolute last 7 kilometers to empty over and over again before I gas it up again. I cannot figure out for the life of me what is behind this. For a little while, I'll do really good and I'll keep it topped up and keep it full, or I'll fill it right up. But then again, I run it right back down because I know to the kilometer what my car can do. I've had it for 14 years or 13 years. So I know that 7K can get me to the gas station. So I've run out of gas, I think, twice in all of those times. And I've gotten myself into one sticky situation, almost running out of gas on a road trip where there was no gas station to be found to fill it up. So whole other thing. So I realize it's really not good. I know it's not good. And I know that it is, it's ridiculous. So it's a little silly. You might be thinking, what the heck? Seriously, just go fill up your gas tank. It's one of my red flags, and I can admit it. And I'm working on it to be more diligent and on top of it and not letting that happen. The next is that I procrastinate, and that is sometimes to my detriment. So again, that might go along the lines of with the gas thing, but I will procrastinate on other things, and things like the things that annoy me, like having to call those call lines for anything, like a bill issue, a credit card issue, changing your accounts, the tax man, you want to call about your taxes as a business owner. There's 5 different lines you call and press 15 different buttons for them to then transfer you again, for you to have to do it again. And I just know it's going to eat up my entire morning or afternoon. So I procrastinate on those things, and I've had things go wrong because I've missed deadlines or had late fees, or certain repercussions were had because I procrastinated on making those calls or doing those tasks that I know are going to suck up hours of my time. So I procrastinate on those types of things that I know are just going to be a time suck, and they're going to suck. And that is one of them, is those types of calls where you're on hold. Your wait time is going to be about an hour, and then you're going to get on there after you've entered all your information over the phone to even get to someone, and then they ask you for it all over again anyways. It's that is my biggest annoyance anyway. So I do tend to procrastinate, and that leads me to I'm quite an unorganized person in a lot of ways. I would say I'm not super organized. So those are some of my I would say more probably annoying things that could be annoying to someone who is more organized, who gets things done, who keeps their car full all the time. To see that, it might seem kind of silly, right? Another one is that I like to feel taken care of. So this in the past led to an unhealthy need for that, feeling like I couldn't take care of myself without a man in my life or someone else doing things for me. So I've grown a ton in that area of having more independence in all areas, but I still sometimes like to feel taken care of, or I do like to feel taken care of. And that doesn't just mean financially, of course. I believe that a powerful relationship is both people that bring finances into the relationship, but it's other ways of feeling like I'm being cared for and taken care of. And that could be a red flag to someone who maybe doesn't want someone that wants to be nurtured and taken care of, right? That could be a red flag for someone that's like, yeah, no, I don't care about that. I don't care about your needs, right? And, sometimes we see this online as like a red flag, as if he's expecting you to be his mama or something like that. So then we're looking at it like, oh, well, I have needs. Is not okay that I want my man to take care of some of my needs? I'm meeting my own needs as well, but maybe there's certain things that you expect and want a partner to meet, and you're allowed to want that just as they're allowed to want that. But there's a difference between wanting a mummy that cleans up after you and picks out your outfits and washes and folds your laundry and does all the cooking and cleaning and every single thing, and being a woman that knows how to nurture a man and how to take care of a man as well within the parameters of your boundaries and what you're willing and not willing to offer. The next one is that I come with a pack of dogs. I have 3 dogs and I have 2 cats. I'm not super mobile. I can't get away super easily. I have to arrange a few things or make sure that one of my teen daughters is home if I want to get away or go do something. And for someone that wants to be able to be spontaneous and portable and be able to just up and take off, that can be a hindrance. So I realized that the fact that I have taken on so many animals is now it's kind of a hindrance for me at this stage of my life where I want to be more mobile and be able to just up and take off now that my girls are much older, that they can be left for a few days and they're okay. But then when they're older and they're moved on, I still will have these animals, right? There's a lot of them that are older now, but for the next few years, I'm still going to have, I would imagine, these 5 animals. So that could be a red flag for someone that doesn't want those complications. The next is that I tend to be a loner. Again, that is one of those things you see out there, like, oh, red flag for him is he's a loner. He doesn't have a pack of friends that come along with him, or that he's not like fully engaged with his parents and family and all that. Like those are like big red flags for an abuser, right? They're big red flags you see everywhere. But on their own, is it? I don't think so, because for me, I can identify with all of those, and it's because we all have different histories with our parents and our families, and some of us don't want to spend a lot of time with certain family members because of the history, because of how it is when you're around them. And I see this so much with women who are waking up and really working through these types of relationships. They start to see it in their parents and see the toxicity coming from their parents or their siblings even. And so they can't tolerate it. And so the more we start to see this in other people and even friends, the less we want to engage with them. So we can become loners. Like I honestly, like aside from like my key core circle people, I like to be alone. I like to be in my house. I like to just be with myself or with certain select people that I love being around. So no, I don't have a massive group of friends, nor do I want that. So that might be a red flag. I also don't want to be managing a huge social life while managing a business, while raising 2 teens, while living my life how I want to live it. And for me, while I think it's healthy for each partner to have their own social circle for sure, there's something also to be said and I've seen this with women that their partners make the friend groups and going out with the boys and drinking and going to these ball tournaments and fishing and all these things, it sucks up all the free time where there's none for the partner, right? I've seen that as well. So I think for me, it would be more of a thing if that was someone's lifestyle, that they prioritize their friend group to go out drinking and partying and leisure activities. So outside of work, that took up all the time and there was no relational quality time. So I think there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance. Like for me, I realize when it's been a while that I haven't had any girl time and connect with a friend and go out for a coffee. Like I don't need a lot of that, honestly. But I realize when there's times that I do, and that's okay. You can admit that you like have a really tight circle, or that you like being a bit of a loner because you don't jive with most people, right? You just feel like you don't click with most people because maybe you're not like most people, and that's okay. The next one is that I get hangry and cranky if I go too long between feedings. So if I'm going somewhere or I'm out and about and I eat my breakfast and I miss lunch and it's 2:00, I start to get kind of cranky and out of sorts, and I'm not as pleasant to be around. I don't like to skip meals. I feel better when I eat on a schedule. That's one thing. I like to, yes, listen to my body, but I like to have my 3 core meals and then be able to have some kind of a protein snack in between those. So if I end up doing things where I'm skipping those things, then I can tend to get cranky. And usually this happens when traveling or away from home, right? So if whoever I'm with is around and that happens and they're fine, it doesn't bother them as much, it can maybe be seen as a problem, right? So I have to take ownership for that. Make sure that I'm packing snacks. Another is that I like to have control of my environment and I like things to be a certain way. I've gotten a lot better, where I've noticed that I've really changed radically in a lot of these areas, but I like to feel in control of my surroundings. And that is improved with food, but it used to be really, really tight around food, like only certain things that I would want to eat. So traveling was a nightmare for me years ago when I was really caught up in this super extreme healthy eating, where traveling was so hard because we had to go find a special place for me to find certain things that I could only eat. And I realized looking back that it was because I felt so out of sorts and out of control in my life that it was an area I could control, that I could feel good about, was what I put in my body. So I've made a lot of shifts around that. Again, I think it's just because overall I've grown, but also so has my life. I've changed my life completely. So liking to have things a certain way is okay, but we have to be able to adapt where possible. There's things maybe that's no, I like things to be this way and I need you to respect that. Or there's things that I need to be a certain way. Can we work together? Or I can let this go and kind of bend here, right? And the last is that I have come to really love gin. I used to rarely drink alcohol because it often just make me feel gross or have a headache. Wine tends to make me feel headachy. But since I've discovered all the many types of gin and what you can do with gin, I love it. So that is something that I have enjoying, and just playing around with it and making different cocktails and different concoctions within limits. That's another thing. I have limits with alcohol. Recently going away on a getaway, I definitely drank more in that week than I probably have in an entire year. Will I do that every week? No, absolutely not. So I have certain times of the month where I won't drink. I have boundaries around that, based on my cycle. I like to have a window where I'm having alcohol, then I finish because it disrupts my sleep. So I have this way of doing it that is boundaried still, that there's limits, that no, I'm not going to drink every night, and I'm not going to binge drink, and I'm not going to get totally drunk. I'm not going to day drink. I'm not going to have it affect my life and wake up with hangovers. Like, it's boundaried, right? There are still boundaries around how I consume alcohol, but I enjoy having a few drinks and having some fun. And I've developed a love for different types of gin and how to play around with them and make cocktails. So those are my red flags. So if you were to look up red flags in a guy and it was worded toward a guy for men, for women, it might read like, he doesn't know how to talk about his feelings and he withdraws into silence when you have hurt his feelings. The next might be he's irresponsible, right? I could be seen as irresponsible with running my car to eat, because it is. That he is lazy and doesn't get shit done. So that's where I know I procrastinate, and it might come across as it's being lazy, but usually it's because I'm so friggin' overwhelmed with so many different things. The thing that seems lower on the priority list is the thing that gets bumped until it's like, oh, I got to deal with this like today. And then I'm scrambling and freaking out and getting it done. The need to be taken care of. It could be, oh, he's looking for a mother. There's just, if you look at it, like the tending to be a loner, doesn't have a lively social life. Sure, that could be a red flag. Or is it? Maybe it's not. It's needing to have control, right? Someone needing to have control is one thing, but needing to have control of you is another. So when I say I like to have control of my environment, or for things to be a certain way, it's not about controlling another person, what they do, what they say, who they are, how they act. It's not about that. So that's the difference. It's toxic when someone is trying to control you to make you become someone different. That's the difference. And then the last of the drinking alcohol, right? We obviously want to be mindful that we're not getting involved with someone who has an alcohol issue, that relies on alcohol, has addictions, is an alcoholic. We don't, or a drug addict, or we don't obviously want to get involved with that. And again, it's your comfort level, because I know some women are just completely all about, I do not want to drink any alcohol, and I do not want a partner that drinks alcohol. I want to find someone who is also abstinent from alcohol and drugs. That's fine too, right? That's 100% fine. And so that would be in your top deal breakers, your top requirements, is someone that also shares that shared view that we don't drink alcohol, we don't do drugs. That could be because you've come from alcoholism in your family of origin. It could come from any place, and that's okay. So that's why you knowing what it is that you want and being able to stand in that firmly as you navigate possibly dating and exploring new relationships after a toxic one, it's you needing to know yourself. That's the key. So if you're in this stage and this is where you're at, where you've left the relationship, or you're out and you're dating, or you're in a new relationship and you're having a really hard time navigating this from your triggers, from your past, differentiating between past and present, trying to understand why you're reacting or feeling a certain way in a new situation, or you're finding it difficult to manage the stuff that's coming up because of what you've experienced, I have a one-on-one intensive that you can apply for. That is 8 weeks, and it's all about navigating the first 6 months to a year outside of one of these relationships. So if you're just coming out of the relationship and you're wanting support to navigate that first little while as you come out, and you want to know what to expect, and you want to navigate dating differently, this is what you need to do. You head to the link in my show notes here of the episode, and you can apply to work with me privately. And when you apply, you just answer a few of the questions that I ask of you, and we get on a quick call, and I can help you discern and do a quick assessment if this is the right step for you. So if you'd like to apply for that, head to the link in my show notes and start that process. But again, this comes back to knowing yourself, Definitely don't jump into something without knowing what it is that you want, without being able to trust yourself, without the inner strength to be able to walk away from something that is causing you stress and pain and chaos and anxiety. Something that just is coming in and messing your life up even further. You don't want that. So you have to be able to walk and step into things with discernment while doing your own work. So I hope you found this episode helpful, maybe a little bit interesting. You learned a few things about me for sure. And maybe make your own red flags list, because I believe we need to be aware of what's within ourselves, so that we don't end up in a relationship with someone who is matching those things. So we have to realize that this is not in any way to say you attract abusers. No, but on some level, we are two puzzle pieces that fit together in some fucked up way, right? That's how it works. Until you start changing your programming, the way you see things, what you tolerate, what you won't tolerate, trusting yourself, and taking the steps toward doing what you need to do to protect yourself, you're going to be a fit for that still. Even if you leave one situation, you're still going to be a fit for that unless you've outgrown it. And this is what's really important to realize, is that you have to do your own inner work. Just leaving an abusive relationship, sure, that's a big step. But many women hop right back into the next one. They're living with someone or married again in 6 months, only to find that, oh, this is the same thing. I thought he was my dream guy. He was so different. Oh, it was so perfect for the 6 months. He was everything I wanted and this and that. And now he's gaslighting the hell out of me. He's cheating. I found out he's talking to all these women this whole time. Or he promises he hasn't been doing anything with them, but I found all these conversations. Just all this weird stuff, right? God, take your time, ladies. Take your time. There is no need to go diving in headfirst into something else without your head on straight. And if you need help with that, that is what I help you with, is to navigate that dating experience, navigate that new relationship experience, so that you will be able to discern for yourself, should I move forward with this, or is this something I need to back away from, or where do I need to set more boundaries, get more clarity? This is what I can help you with in the 8-week intensive. So check that out at the link in the show notes, and I will chat with you again in the next episode. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this show and it has served you and helped you on your journey, please take a moment right now and leave a rating and review in iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like more daily content, videos, and inspiration, come on over and join me at Awakening Women Support Official over on Instagram, where we can connect and you can continue your transformation and growth journey. And I'll see you online. Take care.